We need to talk about DroneGate, right? All the arrests, the conspiracies, the calls for action, all the updates. Because there have been a ton of them, and as we talked about last week, reportedly there have been a ton of unidentified drones spotted at night flying all over New Jersey, as well as surrounding areas of Pennsylvania and New York. But we really don't know anything about where these alleged drones are coming from and what they're doing, despite widespread public outcry and demands for answers from state and local leaders. And this, as it's been reported that most of the drones seen in New Jersey, they seem to be much larger than what's typically available to hobbyists. Now with that, federal, state, and military officials have repeatedly said that the drones do not pose a threat to safety or security, and they're not believed to be coming from a foreign actor. But then they also haven't been able to provide any answers. And since we last talked about it, the mystery's just deepened even more, with drone sightings expanding now to other states. Now, according to reports, sightings being reported in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Virginia, California, and Ohio. And with that, there have been some notable disruptions and incidents, like, for example, Stewart Airfield north of New York City was forced to temporarily shut down its runways for about an hour last week due to drone activity. And this is an Air Force base in Ohio also closed off its airspace for several hours for the same reason. Then beyond that, 2 suspects were also arrested for hazardous drone operation near Logan Airport in Boston, and a Chinese citizen was placed under arrest for allegedly flying a drone and taking pictures of a Space Force base in California. Though I will say, very notably here, police have not given any indication that either of these arrests are connected to any of the drone sightings around the country. And again, top officials maintain that there is no evidence that the broader DroneGate situation is the result of a foreign actor. And to that point, one thing I want to make very clear is that we do not know how or even if any of these events are tied together. Currently, there is no definitive way to say if the sightings in Ohio are connected to what's happening in New Jersey, especially as the drone activity that we've seen in Jersey is still seeming to happen at a scale and level of coordination that's not been seen in other places. Which is also why we had officials from the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and White House all giving press briefings specifically addressing the situation in New Jersey. And with these, we've seen those officials saying that they have determined that the vast majority of the drone sightings, they're actually manned aircraft like helicopters and planes that are being operated legally. And this, as an FBI official said, that the agency created a national tip line to report the drones. But they are saying of the 5,000 tips they've received, less than 100 leads have been generated and deemed worthy of further investigative activity. This is again, the officials reiterated that they have found no indication of criminal activity, foreign interference, malicious intent, or a threat to safety and national security. Though, that said, you did have some New Jersey lawmakers pushing back against the claim by federal officials that most of the drones are actually manned aircraft, arguing instead that's not what they were told in briefings, or just saying that they don't believe those statements based on what they've personally witnessed or heard about in their state. But then also at the same time, we saw Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey actually walking back a video that he shared on X showing what appeared to be a cluster of drones flying near a reservoir in the state, with him there openly acknowledging that after further analysis, he determined that the crafts were almost certainly planes. And then also touching on this, you had Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas going on ABC News yesterday to say,
there's no question that people are seeing drones. Some of those drone sightings are in fact drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones. And we do see duplicative reporting. But there's no question that drones are being sighted. Let me set the record straight here, George. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk.
With Mayorkas then going on to say that Congress needs to expand the ability of federal, state, and local authorities to crack down on drones. Though on that note, we have seen some significant efforts here. Right? Mayorkas and other federal officials have consistently said they're channeling considerable resources, personnel, and technology to address the situation. And just yesterday, New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced that federal officials are sending a drone detection system to her state, though she also echoed Mayorkas' call for Congress to give state governments more power to deal directly with drones, an idea that's been backed by other lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, with some, including President-elect Donald Trump, also arguing that relevant authorities should be given the ability to shoot the drones down. So for now, we're gonna have to wait to see if any of that happens, as well as if we ever get any real clarity here. But in the meantime, right, the general air of mystery around DroneGate has just created a lot of space for conspiracy theories to flourish. With this, including one unverified theory that took over the weekend after being amplified by Joe Rogan. And that, in large part, coming from a now viral TikTok posted by a man by the name of John Ferguson, who's the CEO of a remote aircraft system company in Kansas. And in this 9-minute long video, Ferguson said that he believed that the drones are being used to detect a gas gas leak or radioactive material, with them arguing that they wouldn't be flying so low and at night unless they were trying to smell something. With Ferguson launching into what's been described by some as a rambling and confusing explanation where he seemed to be heavily implying that the drones are being used to track down a nuke that went missing when President Reagan shut down the nuclear program with Russia, and claiming that an unnamed source told him that he had alerted the government about a nuclear warhead from Ukraine that was, quote, heading towards the United States. And then, seemingly implying that he thinks the Biden administration ignored that warning because it wants to go to war with Russia, and adding,
with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead. None of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone.
And so then with all that, you had Rogan retweeting that video and writing, this is the first video about these drones that has got me genuinely concerned. But this also is we've now seen a ton of people pushing back at Ferguson's claims, arguing that they are totally unverified and saying that there is no evidence. This is just pure speculation. But with all this, you had Rogan casting doubt on the claims by top government officials that most of the drones are actually legally operated manned aircraft, with them arguing that those claims are sus, and then adding, I want to believe it's Adderalled up incels holed up in a basement fucking with the man more than I want it to be aliens. But ultimately, this is where we currently are. It's a very frustrating situation of not knowing what the fuck is actually going on. And all this open space of not knowing the mystery and the secrecy, it just opens up the situation for misinformation to flourish. For conspiracies ranging from comical to possible to just blow up. But of course, know that while we wait to get more definitive information, we're gonna keep an eye on this and keep you updated. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this clip from the full Philip DeFranco show. And also, a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring our Clips channel. Turn your passion into profit over at squarespace.com/Phil, or use the QR code. Because whether you're launching a business or a lucrative side hustle, your website is your digital business card. It's the only space where you control the story, no algorithms or distractions. And with Squarespace, it's so easy because they got a ton of stunning professional templates with drag and drop editing that makes site design incredibly simple, no coding required. So get started for free at squarespace.com/Phil, or scan the QR code on screen and use code Phil for 10% off when ready to launch. Squarespace.com/Phil.